am the host and creator of the Nikki Marie Radio Show, where we celebrate voices and stories of entrepreneurs, visionaries, authors, music artists, and so many others. Our purpose is to promote individuals who are motivating and creatively affecting change around the world or in their community. You can listen and subscribe to the Nikki Marie Radio Show wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow our social media page at NikkiMarie_radio. Continue listening and supporting the show. Hello, and welcome. Thank you so much for tuning into another show. So this week, I've talked a lot about being successful, being an entrepreneur, and the fear of it all. So I am happy to have my guests who can tap into a little bit of what I already discussed on this show. We just talked about being an entrepreneur, and he is one. Also an author, a professor. He has his own business. He has his own podcast, and he does a lot of other stuff. So we're going to talk about networking. We're going to talk about him being an author and a new course that he has. So thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to Nikki Marie Radio. And please welcome our guest today, Dr. Jairo Borja.
Hey, welcome me back. Thank you so much for having me again. Yeah.
Yes, I kind of feel like you don't need an introduction because you've been on this show so many times.
That's all right.
But, I love to talk to you very often because you're an entrepreneur and the struggle is real out here.
Yeah,
So I want to take a deeper dive into some of the things that have inspired you to be where you are now.
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's a pleasure to be here again. For those who don't know who I am, I'm Dr. Jairo Borja. I am, yes, as Nikki Marie mentioned, the author of Networking Way to Success, 10 Tips for Entrepreneurs and Working Professionals. So I wrote that book in the summer of 19, and I had a whole plan to do a whole book tour in 2020. Then COVID came, so I had to do a lot of the stuff virtual, which gave me another great idea in the summer of 2020, about a year ago, to start building my first course, Transforming Way to Success, where it's an 8-week journey where I help take folks from networking novice to guru. So it's very kind of like going back to school where you have assignments, assessments, and then you watch a video, right? And then halfway through, you actually schedule a live appointment with me to make sure you hit all those checkpoints. And then week 8, you, again, once the course is over, you're able to sit with me again and just to make sure that what you learn, you implement in your business, right? So fast forward to this year, I'm always learning, I'm always sharing resources with you and have a whole marketing plan coming down now where I condensed a lot of that into the Art of Networking framework. So I know you're in the middle of the course, very simple 30, 45 minute video, and then very, very quick action plans, do it yourself. And there's some awesome perks, which includes an e-version of the book, Networking Way to Success, and some great how-tos when it comes to putting together your elevator pitch and what to do post-event. And of course, I throw in a free strategy call, which a couple of people have taken advantage and really love it. So that's what I'm doing now.
It's funny because a lot of people just feel like as an entrepreneur, maybe I'll start this business and people will come to me, but they don't realize you have to do the footwork and you actually have to network. So how important is that? And you can explain how, I guess, the turning point has been for you. Let's say you're an entrepreneur, but you decide to let people come to you rather than network. How do you think your business would have been affected if you didn't do the networking?
It'd be critical. I probably wouldn't be here today talking to you about that. So it's important to, again, for those who are just on the cusp, I actually had this exact conversation earlier, right? So if you're on the cusp or just about to cross over into entrepreneurship, I think I mentioned this on the show previously, you should have 6 to 12 months of emergency funds to cover your bills. On top of that, you're supposed to also build some sort of email list, right? Where you could provide newsletters or free resources to add value to your community. And the third, but most importantly, is to make sure that you never run out of people to talk to, right? That you're building your network, right? Building your CRM as well, right? So with that being said, I think those are the top 3 things any entrepreneur should do, or right before you're in entrepreneurship you do, right? So now, on top of that, people come to me because of networking expert. They say, say, hey, how do I network, right? So I definitely advise folks to, look at your Chamber of Commerce. They have a lot of virtual events or hybrid events, right? Industry specific organizations, right? So there's a lot of different organizations for PR, for marketing, for security professionals. So, I try to hang out with like-minded folks there for industry specific events, right? Also, any organizations that are good causes, right? Like Prospanica or Hispanic Star or Alpha, network and join those hybrid. What I mean by hybrid is some could be virtual, some could be on site, right? And then when you network, you have to network with a purpose, right? I mentioned in the book, I mentioned in the course, right? You know where I'm going, where you, if you have a goal, I want to connect with 10 folks that I could either help me directly in my business or could become good referral sources as well. So, like for example, I'm just using financial service as an example, right? So if I'm a financial advisor, right, I'm going to go in and try to either talk to 10 folks that are could use my services, right? And it could be certain trigger points, right? Recently married, recently engaged, just had a baby, just got a house, whatever it is, right? Just started a business. Those are all big trigger points, right? In financial services, right? But on top of that, you could also have referral sources, right? So maybe I'm at an event and there's a CPA, right? Or there's a property and casualty, whatever it is, right? So you really got to be strategic about where you attend these events. So my honest to God truth is, one, have those 3 tips, use those 3 tips that I just gave you. And 2, go to those industry specific events and really build your network that way and have a goal in mind, right? I expand that more in the book, and in the course, but that's basically the gist of it.
So in the beginning, we talked about pivoting, and it seems to be like everyone's word of the year or for the year. And I kind of wanted to get from your point of view, what were some of the challenges that you had to overcome, especially when you indicated that you were going to go on a book tour?
Yeah.
But now, I don't know, are you still in the works with that? Because things are kind of changing back to some sense of normalcy, but I can't tell.
Sure. No, great question. I started a business in 19, right? And then 6 months later, COVID happened. So I struggled like everyone else, right? So I struggled with bills and all that, just like anyone else. But the way I persisted, the way I persevered was I was always networking, always doing things like this, being on different podcasts, starting my own podcast as well, and just got to keep pushing forward and kind of reevaluate your situation and pivot your situation, right? So, yes, I couldn't do the book tour. So I pivoted into just doing some virtual events, and I was actually smart. Like, for example, a year ago, I had a bank wanted me to speak on networking, and I said, you know what? In exchange, you may not be able to pay me, but can you purchase 20, 30 copies of my book, right? So you just, and they did. So you just got to be strategic as far as how you sell yourself per se, right? And then of course, understanding now with the whole pivoting approach, right? Now, how much can I add value now that it's going to be very challenging to sell a tangible book? You could do things like ebooks. You could do things such as courses. I saw an opportunity on a free webinar I was watching that, courses is a $3 billion or a couple $1 billion industry, right? But you just have to have the right course and the right market and build the right clientele, right? So I'm in the middle of that, and I have pivoted, done well. Have I done extremely well like I wanted to? I'll get there. But it's a work in process, right? But yeah. I've been blessed. I've networked a lot, throughout the years. I actually have, full disclosure, I discussed this with you off air. I have the statewide Hispanic Chamber of Commerce as a supporting partner, and they're a client of mine per se. And I help out with their grants and help out with their 2 signature programs. And that's monthly recurring revenue that I have on a consistent basis. So I'm blessed. They're one of my primary clients. I have something along the works that I'm working at a similar deal with another organization. So that's great. So yeah. I've just been able to pivot just with those 2 deals alone. Plus, I'm looking to do more paid speaking gigs. I'm doing a couple things for Hispanic Heritage Month. Got to take advantage, of my brown pride. And I'm doing things. I did something with KPMG this week. doing something with another bank next week. So I'm very blessed that I'm able to spread the word, right? Because people like you and I, we've had our highs, we had our lows, but if we could tell our story to the others and aspire others to kind of go that entrepreneurship route, and I'm one day at a time. Yeah,
that's awesome. I talked a little bit about success and about the fear of all that comes with it, right? And then I also talked about how everyone has their own different lane and their own interpretation of what success looks like. So from your perspective, how do you define success?
A couple of ways, right? So of course, the black and white or the easy answer is like what's your sales and what's your net profit, right? So of course, the first 2 years, my business took a loss. Borja Consulting was a loss, right? Now, thanks to what I'm doing with the chamber and a couple of other things, I'm actually in the green this year. So that's the easy answer I could give you, right? So concrete wise that, but also what you do in a community to impact, right? Nick and Marie, full disclosure, I'm very active with Prospanica in the Hispanic community, very active now Hispanic Star to an extent, and also active with ASIS International, which I'm kind of winding down for security professionals. So I define success as what's your impact to the community. I believe in the law of reciprocity, right? So when I sit with someone, I don't just sit there and give them my 5-minute elevator pitch, right? So I also want to add value and say, how can I help you as well, right? So I'm always open to provide an introduction, always open to open doors to folks, and I'm always open to provide resources for folks as well, right? People come to me still, even to this day, hey, can you help me? I know you don't do career service anymore, but can you help me get in contact with this person? I'm more than happy to keep that relationship open. So as far as success, of course, you got to know your numbers, right? As far as, how much you make year in, year out, month in, month out. That's the easy answer. But on top of that, the next layer is what's your impact to the community? What's your impact to your target market as well? So that's how I define success.
Wow. I love that. Yeah. I love that it's not just about the financial gain, but it's also about helping your community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's probably why I initially started with doing the mental health, because I'm like, we don't have a lot of conversations about mental health. So if I can merge the two, business and also leveling with your mind, body, and spirit, I think that is a telling sign that we're growing together, not just in business mentality, but also in the mind. You're increasing value in your mind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the easiest way to define that is the old analogy or old saying is if you love what you do, you don't work a day in your life, right? So if you do, focus on your passion, right? But at the same time, run it like a business, fortunately or unfortunately, right? You got to know your numbers, right? If it's podcasting, right? I just had the conversation literally right before we got on the air, right? If it's podcasting, knowing the numbers, right? What's your target market? What is the goal? Is it a lead gen thing? Is it more about giving back to the community? Are you trying to monetize off it? So I know there's certain parameters that you got to hit. So if you're not hitting them, how can you hit them? What are you doing as far as sponsorship? What's your average download, right? So you really got to know your numbers, right? From that perspective, right? So follow your passion, but also it is what it is, right? You got to know your numbers, right? But at the end of the day, as long as you follow your passion, and eventually I shut off one email and the other one comes on. Follow your passion, but at the same time, you also got to know your numbers. And once you know your numbers, then you know where to work with as a benchmark. So
yeah. Well, as a busy person, how do you balance it all? And also, what are you working on? Just say it out again.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. No. So I manage everything through my calendar, right? So I have and even although the chamber has a separate email, I make sure that I have everything on one calendar, because if not, I'll start losing things. So I just, keep it balanced. I try to shut down my computer at 6. That's where I spend time with my 5-year-old. And whether it's YouTube we watch or whether it's video games or whatever it is, I try to keep that work-life balance, right? So the only drawback, right, of working from home is there's no border, right? So remember when we used to commute into the city, once the computer shuts down, then that's it, the day's over, right? But not anymore. Since we're working from home or remote, you could technically, with no interruption, you keep working and until you fall asleep here, right?
Right.
You have to have those imaginary boundaries and really be able to, shut down at a certain time. So that's how I keep it balanced. That's my pieces of advice. Right. Manage a calendar, master calendar, and also know when to call it quits and spend time with family. Because what's going to happen is, you can work 70, 80, 90 hours, right, on your business, and great, you're going to be very successful and make a lot of money, but then you're going to be miserable at home with your spouse and
exactly
with the family, right? So you got to keep it balanced. So that's the advice.
Well, speaking of like balance, boundaries, and all that stuff, I know you want to put your course information out there again, and also your contact information.
Absolutely. So right now I'm pushing hard the Art of Networking Framework online course, right? Very similar to the higher tier course. I just condensed it. I know you're in the middle of it now. And a lot of the things that I'm saying probably you can resonate to it, right? So very affordable. Art of Networking Framework online course is available on my website at www.borjaconsultinggroup.com. You'll have some great perks, including setting up a complimentary call with me, a strategy call with me. So I think it'll be a great opportunity for you to go from a networking novice to a networking pro, and it's for under $10. $7 is the best $7 you'll ever spend in your life. Do it yourself approach to having an elevator pitch and other resources for you to network like a pro virtually and or on site.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, we got to check you out.
Definitely check it out.
Well, thank you so much for your time and for being here. I know time with you is always limited because you're always on the go. That's right. But thank you for taking a few minutes just to, get us all thinking about being an entrepreneur and what it takes to be an entrepreneur. And the most important is networking.
Absolutely.
Do the work,
That's
network,
right.
And also make sure you have a goal and a purpose at the end of it.
That's right. Network with a purpose. So thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate the audience, and please check out my website and love to help out anywhere I can. So thank you.